What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon of the Week. My name's Chris. I'm going to be your host for today. We've got an Eagles playoff game this week. We don't know who it is against yet because I'm filming this on Sunday while the Bills play the Dolphins. The Bills are losing right now, so we'll see what happens this weekend with the Eagles. But everybody knows before we get started on all of that and the OGD 114, time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. It's going to be good. So here we have OGD, or Old Granddad 114. The 114 stands for the proof, so this is coming in at 114 proof. It is non-age stated, although everything I've read online says between that 4 to 6 year mark. And then the mash bill on this is 63% corn, 27% rye, which is a high rye, leaving us with 10% malted barley. Now, this bottle does come out of Jim Beam, and it seems like people either love or hate Jim Beam Distillery. They either love the nuttiness profile that comes along with it, or they don't. I tend to lean towards the loving it side of things, although the one that I really get it the most on is that Booker's lineup, and I don't like spending that type of money on the Booker's lineup every year. I only buy one a year, even though they put out 4, just because of that price point. So I'm hoping that this will give me that same distinct flavor profile, that high proof at 114 proof, and still give me a little bit more cost effective of a bottle. We'll get to price eventually, but you know the rules: price, taste, drinkability. Let's start with drinkability. Now, if you're newer to the channel, we like to start with drinkability here just because a lot of people who are newer to the whiskey world, or maybe working their way up through the whiskey world, don't want something that tastes like straight ethanol, and they watch these other bigger YouTubers and all they tell you is the flavor profile that comes along with it. Maybe they'll tell you it has a little bit of a bite, but I think I want to focus more on, does it have that ethanol kick? Because when I worked my way up through the whiskey world, I hated that alcohol that came along with whiskey, and it was so much of a put off that I almost stopped drinking whiskey for a while. So for this glass right here, when it comes to strictly ethanol, I will tell you this: it has a lot of heat behind it. I think it has a little bit too much heat for 114 proof, but the only way we're going to figure that out, one more sip. Yeah, this definitely has a really good Kentucky hug, right? It burns on the side of your mouth. It burns your cheeks. It makes your lips feel a little tingly if you get it touching your lips. It's not the easiest thing to drink, but the reason we go to taste next is because we always want to know if the taste outweighs the drinkability. And for drinkability alone on this, I'm going to give this like a, I got to go like high 6s almost, like a 6.97 when it comes to drinkability on this. And like I just said, of course, we're going to get into taste on this next, and this flavor profile is exactly what you're expecting from the Old Granddad lineup. If you've tried the Old Granddad 80 proof, which is where I would start if you're just getting into bourbon and maybe want to try a Jim Beam lineup product, that would be a good one. Work your way into the 100 proof, the bonded. I absolutely love that. I kind of feel like out of the 3 as of right now, that's still my go-to for the price point, the flavor profile, and the ethanol that comes along with it. And then you have this one right here, which bumps up that ethanol kick, but definitely also bumps up the flavor. I will say that one day I do want to try the 80 proof versus the bonded versus the 114 proof, and I'm sure that I will, just to try to map out the progression, both of that ethanol kick as well as that flavor profile, because I think that there is kind of a linear pattern to those two. But for this bottle right here, I absolutely love it. You get a lot of that sweetness that you're looking for on the front, those vanillas, those caramels. Your Jim Beam nuttiness is right in the middle there, and then you get that high rye content at the end. I love this flavor profile. Let's take one more sip and give it a score. I will also say there's almost like a citrus note, whether it's lemon or an orange peel or something at the very end of this that rounds this out very nicely, because you get that sweetness, you get that nuttiness, you get that rye spice, but then it just tones down right at the end with a little bit of a citrus note that I absolutely love. We're going to give this a great score when it comes to taste. I'm going to say like a 9.17 when it comes to taste on this. And last but not least, we got to get into price on this, and this bottle comes in at, this is the hard part, somewhere between that $30 to $35 range, right? I've seen a lot of reviews on this, and everything, there was almost a peak for Old Granddad 114, where in like 2017 to 2019, everybody was talking about it. This was the best bang for your buck, best bourbon under $25, and it's not under $25 anymore, and I can't find too much information about MSRP on this bottle. I looked up on their website. You can check out everybody who's selling it, and again, it seems to be between that $30 to $35 mark. I think $30 is like an on sale price and $35 is an actual MSRP. So we're going to use $35, but feel free to correct me in the comment section below. All that being said, with the way that the bourbon market is going, if this went from $25 to $35 in the span of 5 or 6 years, I'm not too mad about that, especially with all the hype that this got at one point. I think for 114 proof, while it does have a little bit of heat behind it, at least it's still making up for that when it comes to the flavor profile. I don't hate this at $35. Again, I think every bottle seems to be jumping to that $30 to $35 mark. Let's take one more sip and give this a price score. Listen, I think $30 to $35 is going to be that new daily sipper range. We can still talk about those $20 to $25 price tag bottles, and there's still a few down there that are absolutely delicious, but I do think that $30 to $35 is going to be the new $20 to $25, and for this bottle right here at $35, I gotta give it a pretty good score when it comes to price. I'm gonna say like a 9.15 when it comes to price on this. But listen, while I add these scores up and pour up a little bit more here, let's talk a little bit about Jim Beam's mash bill and a little bit about their yeast strain, because you might not know this during our Bourbon Bomb of the Week. Cheers, y'all. So since the very beginning of this video, I talked about that Jim Beam flavor profile and how distinctive it is and how easy it is to pick out. And there's a reason for that. They actually have their own yeast strain, their own proprietary yeast strain at Jim Beam called Beam yeast. And it's something that I didn't know about up until recently. Now, I have two different sources telling me that this is either the same yeast strain that they've used since 1795 with Jacob Beam, or it was actually recently found by Jim Beam, which is Booker Noe's grandfather, you know Jim Beam, the Jim Beam distillery. And the way that he found it was he went outside and he just caught it. Now, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know how you catch yeast and then turn that into a yeast strain that you're going to use in a mash bill to make hundreds of millions of barrels of bourbon a year. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you that Booker Noe is lying to me, but I think it's very interesting that they have their own yeast strain called Beam yeast. Now, in fact, this yeast strain is so important that they take some home every weekend just in case something happens at the distillery. And a couple of things, including lightning strikes, have happened over the years. So they make sure that they take this home so they never lose this proprietary yeast strain. What do you guys think of that? Cheers, y'all. Listen, all I know is they better not lose that yeast strain because I want the bottles to keep tasting like this. This bottle came in at an 8.43, and we've had a lot in that 8.4 range, and maybe one day we'll put them all up next to each other to see which one tastes the best and take drinkability as well as price out of the equation. Drinkability definitely holds this one back a little bit, so if you don't like high ethanol content when it comes to your bourbons, don't try this one. Maybe go with the bonded or the 80 proof. But hey, if you've made it this far in the video, make sure you click that like and that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Go check out our Instagram page and give us a follow over there. Our link in the description below has both our Discord and our Patreon. A lot of cool things just for patrons, so go check those out as well. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly and stay healthy, stay happy, stay drinking. Cheers, y'all. Beam.